A lot of news this week, and most of it is centered around this new China-based DeepSeek. John, what do we need to know about DeepSeek? What is this, and why is it so important?
Well, thank you very much for the question. I think it's really kind of important from the standpoint it encourages the conversation about the next steps of what AI is all about. And more importantly, what about the security and safety around that product and the safety and security of the information that we as the general public are willing to basically share with entities like China or other foreign countries.
So I noticed it rocked the stocks of a few other chip makers. NVIDIA is the one that gets the biggest headlines. Are they really a threat to the dominance of some of these other chip manufacturers, or is this just them getting spooked and things will return to normal?
Well, I think things will eventually turn to normal. I think one of the things that I noticed in any product development, there's three pillars to product development. There's better, cheaper, and faster. And you can have any two of those. And so if you look at the release of DeepSeek, it was claimed to be cheaper and faster, but is it not necessarily better? And what I've seen as information continues to roll out, that the application is actually a copy of AI. David Sachs has come out and believed that some of the intellectual property of OpenAI was used in this. And there's a security firm, a cloud security firm, that basically has come out and said that they actually were able to penetrate the application itself. It was pretty easy, so it wasn't very secure. And they were able to determine that a lot of the code was actually, OpenAI's code. So it's kind of interesting to see how that's come out. And I really, truly think it's probably a little bit of saber rattling with the TikTok activity that's kind of going on in the U.S.
Yeah, that makes a little bit of sense there. Has China ever done this before, come out with a state company that wanted to get into some industry and they ended up becoming dominant? I mean, they didn't do it with like cell phones or appliances or whatever. Is there a precedent for them?
From what we've seen over their past experience, and I have a saying: when somebody tells you who they are, believe them. China is a great imitator, and what they'll do is they'll try to basically find a product and to look at it, evaluate it, and try to basically be the predominant player before it becomes a useful product. And so once they become the dominant player, then they start to figure out how to make it better. So the thing that we need to be all careful about is how do we protect our intellectual property. The U.S. is a great country, and we will continue to innovate. And as long as we're able to protect what we innovate and be able to produce it inexpensively in the U.S., I think that's going to help us long term.
So what are the national security implications you mentioned earlier? How could this be a problem in that arena?
Well, not only national security, obviously, even from a personal security standpoint, we rely so much on technology today, whether it be our personal cell phones or security cameras that we install in the house. There's a lot of products that come from China, and we really don't know what's inside those products. And so there could be all kinds of viruses. There could be little, back doors that you can get into these devices. And as long as they're connected through the Internet, you never know where that information is heading off to. So I've kind of observed this over the last 20 years or so, that ever since the Internet has been pervasive, people have been more and more open to basically, and maybe subconsciously, allowing their personal information to get out there. And the more of that information is out there, the more that you can basically, people can basically have nefarious reasons for basically figuring things out and basically make it an issue for the general public. So, and you can kind of see that a little bit with some of the things that kind of gone on in the sports industry. Some of the high celebrity sports stars, basically, there's publicity that they're playing at some location out of town, and next thing you know, somebody's breaking in their house, and they're able to basically break in without anybody knowing about it because they've disabled the security systems around the house. So again, we just don't need to be aware of it. I think we're going to see probably in the coming years more emphasis on personal and national security above all things.
So is Stargate going to compete and maybe put this out of business or be the main rival to DeepSeek? Is that what we're trying to do with that $500 billion venture?
Well, my guess is Stargate is way ahead of DeepSeek. Really what happened is DeepSeek was able to basically take an existing product and make it cheaper and faster. That's the message that I gathered out there. The reason why the stock, part of the contributing reason why I think the stock basically tanked a little bit is because of the announcement, more of an emotional effect. But what I've seen in the preceding weeks leading up to this stock market is most of the stock prices have pretty much been stable over the past coming weeks. And so, therefore, I wasn't really surprised to see that the market tanked because of that. There's several markets that affect the technology world. Obviously, you have the technology itself, but you have the financial market that is feeding the investment that these tech companies make. And if the financial market dries up, therefore, the tech industry is going to say we don't have enough money to continue to develop, and so therefore the valuation may be perceived as less. But I see an overall long business model. The U.S. has always been a dominant player in that. I like the fact that the current president is emphasizing technology. I think it's going to make everybody's lives better in the long run. I think living today is much better than it was living 20, 30, 40 years ago, and I continue to see that our lives will improve over the coming years.
All right, John Schultz, I appreciate your expertise. Thank you very much for your time. Where do we find you outside of WBAP?
Well, you can reach us at easylocator.com, or we actually are on Facebook and Twitter. So if you want to just send us a little message out there, we'd be happy to reply any way we can.
Thank you very much, John Schultz, for being on The James Show.